The clock is ticking on a fragile ceasefire between the United States and Iran, and Pakistan is at the center of a last-ditch diplomatic effort to prevent the war from restarting. US Vice President JD Vance is heading to Islamabad for a new round of talks, but tensions between Washington and Tehran are rising again. Here's what's happening. US President Donald Trump says he does not want to extend the ceasefire with Iran, which is due to expire by the end of Wednesday.
Don't have a deal by Wednesday when the ceasefire ends. Will you extend the ceasefire or will
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I won't extend it.
Okay.
But the blockade is going to remain. But maybe I won't extend it. So you have a blockade, and unfortunately we'll have to start dropping bombs again.
Speaking to CNBC, Trump said negotiators have a limited time to reach a deal. He also warned that the US military is prepared to resume the war if negotiations fail. Trump has repeatedly predicted that Washington and Tehran will reach what he calls a great deal. But he has also issued stark threats.
What I think is that we're going to end up with a great deal,
including potential strikes on Iranian infrastructure if the conflict resumes. Iran has pushed back strongly against the rhetoric. Officials in Tehran say they will not negotiate under threat, accusing the US of trying to turn talks into what they called a table of surrender. Iranian leaders say they are not ready for further confrontation if necessary and insist the country must remain fully prepared for renewed attacks. One major flashpoint remains the US naval blockade targeting ships linked to Iran in the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran says the blockade must end before meaningful negotiations can move forward. That dispute is complicating Pakistan's mediation efforts. Islamabad is trying to convince Tehran to send a delegation to talks expected to begin this week. US Vice President JD Vance is traveling to Pakistan along with senior officials including Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Several US aircrafts carrying personnel and equipment have already landed in Pakistan ahead of the negotiations, but it remains unclear whether Iran will attend. Iranian state media says no diplomatic delegation has yet traveled to Islamabad, although sources suggest a last-minute decision is still possible. The central dispute between Washington and Tehran remains uranium enrichment. The United States wants Iran to stop enrichment and give up its existing stockpile of enriched uranium. Iran has rejected that demand. During earlier talks, US negotiators proposed a 20-year pause on enrichment, while Iran countered with a 5-year suspension. That gap remains one of the biggest obstacles to a deal. Meanwhile, tensions in the Gulf have escalated. US naval forces recently seized an Iranian-flagged cargo ship that attempted to pass through the American blockade near the Strait of Hormuz. Iran condemned the move as piracy and warned it would defend its sovereignty. The incident highlights how fragile the ceasefire remains even as diplomacy continues. For Iran, control over the Strait of Hormuz is a major bargaining tool. Tehran has signaled if it cannot export its oil because of US sanctions or blockades, it could prevent others in the region from exporting theirs. Washington, meanwhile, wants to neutralize that leverage. Analysts say both sides are trying to use the strait as a negotiating card before any final agreement is reached. For Pakistan, the stakes are high. Islamabad is currently the only country hosting direct talks between the United States and Iran, and its diplomatic role could shape the outcome of the crisis. But the ceasefire deadline is approaching and tensions rising at sea. The question now is simple. Will Iran send negotiators to Islamabad, or will the war restart?